a GCLS virtual event. I'm Rachel, the Adult Outreach and Event Coordinator for the Greenville County Library System, and I'm so glad that you've joined us here today to learn about identity theft and scam prevention. If this is your first time joining us, make sure that you familiarize yourself with the Zoom buttons. We are going to ask you to keep yourself muted unless you're ready to ask a question. This is an interactive event, so make sure that you unmute yourself to ask questions throughout the event, or you can ask them in the chat, and I'll make sure that our speaker gets them. If you want to check out more virtual events, make sure to go to greenvillelibrary.org. That way you can access our virtual events calendar and also our on-demand virtual classes and activities. So that's where you can check out all of our recordings and our on-demand activities. Many thanks to Cedric Wright, who's going to be joining us today. He is the outreach coordinator for the South Carolina Department of Consumer Affairs. So he's going to be our speaker today. So everyone, please give a warm welcome to Cedric.
Thank you so much, Ms. Anthony, for having me. And I want to thank each of you for actually taking time out of your busy schedules to actually participate in this webinar. So without any further ado, we are going to go ahead and get started. As she said, my name is Cedric Wright, and I am the outreach coordinator with the South Carolina Department of Consumer Affairs. So let me go ahead and just kind of get this disclaimer out of the way. This presentation is not meant to serve as a substitute for reading the various laws discussed, seeking legal counsel, or otherwise requesting department guidance and or interpretations on the laws it administers and enforces. This presentation merely serves as an introduction and overview. And if at any point you have a question, please don't think you're being rude by unmuting yourself and asking questions. I welcome that. I used to teach school and I love to answer questions. So please don't feel like you got to wait until I get finished to ask a question. So let's go ahead. First, we're going to give you a little overview about what we're going to talk about. We've got to have an overview of South Carolina Department of Consumer Affairs. We're going to look at some interesting facts. We're going to talk about what identity theft is, how it happens, signs of identity theft. And because of COVID-19, we definitely want to stay on top of the COVID-19 scams. We're going to look at the most common scams, spoofing and phishing, and ways to prevent identity theft. So let's look and see what South Carolina Department of Consumer Affairs is all about. We are the Consumer Protection Agency for the state of South Carolina. We've been around since 1975, and we're getting ready to celebrate our 46th birthday. Our mission is to protect consumers from inequities in the marketplace, and we do that through advocacy. And a good example of advocacy would be when you have utility companies who are trying to increase their rates. We step in and say, no, consumers are already paying high enough amounts for their light bills. They don't need to increase anymore. Then our mediation coincides with our Consumer Services Division, which we'll learn about. Enforcement ties in with our legal division, and education ties in with our public information division, as well as our identity theft unit. Now, as we look a little closer into our consumer services division, this is probably one of our largest divisions. We handle online consumer complaints, and we do that through an online portal. Now, if the consumer services division receives a complaint that is not within their jurisdiction, it is actually channeled to the proper agency. And as you can see, we receive about 300 complaints a month. And on average, we have about $1 million in refunds, credits, and adjustments annually. Our legal division is our agency's licensing division. And they regulate about 15 industries. You can see credit counseling. A lot of people don't realize this, but we actually license physical fitness gyms, funeral homes who wish to issue pre-need contracts, mortgage broken places, prepaid legal services, pawn shop. All of these businesses are regulated by us. Our identity theft unit, which is the unit that I represent, our mission is to educate consumers about what identity theft is, steps that they can take to help prevent identity theft, and if by chance identity theft happens, we actually have a coordinator here that will actually take reports to help you mitigate whatever issue that you may have. Our public information division serves as the main consumer portal for consumers, business, and media. They also keep our Facebook page, our Twitter account, as well as our YouTube up to date. And they also do presentations as well. Our public information department was also responsible for our new website. Now we make it real easy for consumers to um, file a complaint. Let's go back here. File a complaint. If you're one of those businesses that I talked about earlier, you can get a license. If you want to check to see if a business is licensed, you can check that here as well. A lot of people don't know this, but you can actually report identity theft to us no matter where you are in the state of South Carolina, as well as scams. And you can also, if you want a presentation for your church or your sorority group, any type of organization that you're part of, you can request for a presentation here as well. Now that we know a little bit about South Carolina Department of Consumer Affairs, let's talk about let's get to the meat as to why we're here today. Let's look at the most common methods of identity theft. Number one you see is hacking. Then you see stealing mail is the next one. Requesting information via email, that's called phishing, and we'll talk about that later on in our presentation. Stealing your account numbers, that would be information like your routing number, your credit card number, etc. And the fifth would be stealing a wallet or a purse. Now, let's get into the definition of actually what identity theft is. Identity theft is when someone uses your personal information or financial information and they use it without your permission. And the whole intent of them stealing your information is to commit fraud. Now, how can your information be used? A lot of people don't realize this. Your information can be used to purchase a credit card or to actually not purchase a credit card, but to get a credit card in your name. Open up like accounts, like a phone account, electric account, gas account. Many people will actually use your identity to even file your taxes on your behalf. They use it to get medical information. Now, this is the sad part, but we get a lot of calls on this. Sometimes when someone is arrested, will even use your stolen identity to cover up their name. So many people don't realize how the seriousness of identity theft. All right, let's look at some other ways. Your personal information is stolen by thieves. These under this, these are popular things that they look for, like your date of birth, your social security number. And when it comes to things like your mother's maiden name, a lot of people use these or their mother's maiden name for like passwords. You want to be careful about using information that's searchable. For example, many people on their Facebook page they might put that they attended a certain high school in the year, and sometimes people use those type of information for passwords. But you want to be very careful about using that type of searchable information, your driver's license, and etc. All of these are things that thieves look for in order to steal your identity. Now, let's look at some other type ways that your identity can be used. You have what's called social identity theft, child identity theft, tax identity theft, medical identity theft, as well as senior identity theft. Now, let's look a little deeper and see what all of these are actually about. Now, we have child identity theft, which is the actual use of a child's personal information. And then you have criminal identity theft. Here again, that's when someone uses your information once they are arrested. And then financial identity theft is solely for the intent of obtaining goods and services. Medical identity theft is when someone uses your information to obtain medical care, or people have even been known to take your information and try to seek medical care by going to a doctor. And synthetic identity theft, which is something really new, that's when they take, okay, my name is Cedric Wright, but then I may use Mrs. Williams' social security number, even though my name is Cedric Wright. So it's taking something current and something fake and real and putting it together in order to create a different identity or a new identity. All right, as we move further into this, how does identity theft happen? Let's look at some ways. Sometimes we are careless as consumers. For example, someone may go to Walmart and they choose to leave their purse open in their car. Those are ways that you could possibly open up yourself to identity theft. Because think about it, most people they carry around, which you should not, your social security card, your credit cards, and etc. So you don't want to cause identity theft because of you being careless. Let's look at it this way. You should not carry your social security card in your wallet. If that's a practice that you use, you definitely want to be careful about putting your social security card in your wallet. You need to keep it in a secure place in your house. And if you get ready to use it, just retrieve it from there. After you use it, put it in a safe spot. A lot of people don't realize this. You want to be very careful about using ATM machines. Some ATM machines have what's called skimmers, and what they do, and as you can see, this skimmer actually goes on top of the real receptacle for the ATM card. And as soon as you stick your ATM card in there, it will read that black strip on the back of your card and get all of your information. So you want to be very careful about where you go for ATM machines. If you pay particular attention to Bank of America, now they're making them real flat. So those are ATM machines you want to use and make sure that they don't have skimmers on it. Um, Junk mail. Everybody on this call, you need to make sure when you get junk mail, particularly if it's for prepaid credit card offers or anything with your personal information, you want to make sure you dispose of this correctly. And the way that you should do that is you have three different types of shredders. You have what's called a strip cut shredder, a cross cut shredder, as well as a micro cut shredder. I highly recommend either a cross cut shredder or a micro cut shredder. If you look at the strip cut shredder, it's easy for a thief to put the pieces of the puzzle back together, but it makes it a little harder when it comes to a cross cut shredder or even a micro cut shredder. So if you're going to use a shredder, make sure you use either a cross cut or a micro cut. Are there any questions so far about the information that has been covered? Any questions or concerns so far? You're more than welcome to unmute yourself and ask your question.
We do have one question.
Yes, what's the question?
The question is, do companies like Amazon call to get approval of a charge?
Say that one more time.
Do companies like Amazon call to get approval of a charge?
I haven't known that to happen, but I will say this. If by chance you get a call from Amazon and you feel a little fishy about that, I would highly recommend that you hang up from that call, actually call Amazon and say, hey, is there an issue or is there a problem? Is there something that I need to be aware of? Because you do have individuals that will actually spoof the number of Amazon in order for you to pick it up. And particularly if you know that you have an order that's coming. So that's always the safest way to do it. If you may feel a little fishy about the phone call. That's an excellent question. All right. Family. Remember, when it comes to your family, your family members, they know where your personal information is actually in your house. They know where you may keep personal documentations, your social security card or other personal information about yourself. And kid not yourself. We've had many instances where daughters have stolen from parents or mother or father or other brothers or sisters. So you definitely want to be careful when it comes to your family. I know that these are people that we should trust, but here again, instances have happened with family members, and particularly when it comes to children. Because remember, children, they have a clean slate. They don't even have a credit report in a lot of instances. And you do have situations where individual family members have stolen a child's social security number and trying to charge up different things on under that child's social security number. You want to be very careful about Wi-Fi. I know many times if you were to go to Starbucks, McDonald's, the public library, you want to access public Wi-Fi. But remember, with public Wi-Fi, you have thieves on there that will actually lurk to see what type of information that you are actually inputting on your electronic device, your tablet or computer, etc. Now, I will say this, if you need to use Wi-Fi to, let's say, for example, look at the Greenville Times, if that's what you all actually call your paper, or here in Columbia, we have the state paper, that's fine. But you definitely don't want to use public Wi-Fi to pay a bill whereby you're looking to put in your bank account number or your credit card number. So be very careful with public Wi-Fi. And look at this. One man's trash is another man's identity. Dumpster diving. Here again, that's why it's very important to make sure you discard of junk mail, and you want to make sure you discard of that correctly. And we've already seen the type shredders that you need to use in order to discard of junk mail, particularly with your personal information. How many of us on this call, we change our passwords every 90 days? If you have not been doing that, that is something that you really, really need to do. And then I hear somebody in my mind saying, well, Mr. Wright, I'm not as young as I used to be. I'm a little seasoned, and I can't quite remember passwords like I used to. That's perfectly fine. You have what's called password managers. These password managers will securely keep your password safe. So if you were to go to a site, it will populate whatever password you save for that particular website. But make sure you're changing your passwords every 90 days. And also make sure you don't have passwords that are linked to personal information about you. That's your mother's maiden name, where you graduated from high school, your child's name or any other names associated with you. You want to be very careful and make sure your password is unique, and you want to make sure it is secure. All right, let's look at some other ways.
We
Now,
got one question came in the chat.
yes,
Is Messenger on iPhone secure?
is Messenger on iPhone secure? I'm not sure about that, but I will do some research on. I haven't heard of any problems with that. But if you get that person's email, I will actually, do some research on that and actually give them the information that I find. That's an excellent question.
Great, thank you.
All right. Now, when you go to a restaurant, you want to be. Can someone tell me? And you can unmute yourself on this. Can someone tell me if you're going to leave a $3 tip, where should you write the $3? I want someone to tell me that. Where should that be written on the tip line? If someone can either put that in the chat or you unmute yourself and give me the response.
Right next to the dollar sign.
Yes, thank you, Miss Sandy. That's the response I was looking for. And the reason why you want to put it right next to the dollar sign, you want to ensure that no one puts a 1 or 2 or whatever number before the 3 in order to commit identity theft or do something fraudulent. So that's very important when you fill out these receipts that you put it as close to the dollar sign as possible. Now, if you're not going to leave a tip, how should you write your 0? Anyone knows? If you're not going to leave a tip, how should that 0 be written?
$0.00.
You can do that, Miss Sandy, or you can actually put the 0 and then draw a line through it. All of those are good practices when you and many people may not think about this, but these are good practices that you need to make sure you're doing when you're actually filling out a receipt. All right. Here again, when you go to the gas stations, you want to be very careful about. You also have skimmers on gas stations. Now they're making your debit cards where you can actually just hold it up and you don't even have to stick your card into these actual card reader machines. So be very careful. Make sure you're going to gas stations that are well lit. Make sure you're going to gas stations that are in reputable neighborhoods, because you do have a lot of thieves that will put skimmers on these gas card readers in order to try to get your information. So just be aware of that. Now, when it comes to our social security number, I know because we live in the South, we're very friendly. People ask for stuff and we give it to them. But when it comes to your social security number, you as the consumer, you need to ask questions. For example, why do you need it? It is your job as a consumer to say, if I give you my social security number, how are you going to protect it? Is there something else that you can use other than my social security number? And you can also ask as a consumer, well, instead of using the whole number, can you just use my last 4 digits if they are adamant about getting your social security number? So here again, make sure if someone requests, I don't care if it's the doctor's office, ask how they are going to protect your information. You owe it to yourself to protect your social security number. All right. What are some signs of identity theft? Let's look at it. You're checking your bank statement and something doesn't look right. I highly recommend that you For example, let me tell you how I have my bank account set up. I deal with Navy Federal Credit Union as well as Bank of America, and I get alerts. I don't care if I go to the Circle K and buy a bag of potato chips and a crust soda for $3 and some change. As soon as I slide my debit card, I will get a notification that says Circle K $3 or whatever. This helps me to be proactive about my bank account and not wait until 30 days afterwards when I'm getting a statement. So definitely look into that. Your credit report. And we're going to talk about this later on, but I'm going to tell you how you can actually get your credit report weekly for free. But you always need to make sure you're staying on top of your credit report, looking for things and making sure all of the charges on there that you have legitimately done. Missing bills. For example, if you know, for example, that you are accustomed to getting your light bill on the 15th of every month, and all of a sudden it doesn't show up, missing bills can possibly be a sign of identity theft. We have actually known thieves to reroute people's mail. They'll go down to the post office and actually fill out the change of address form and have mail rerouted. So you definitely want to be on top of things like that if you are missing major bills. You receive calls from debt collectors, knowing that you did not legitimately charge that particular debt. You go to the doctor or you have medical claims that are actually denied. You can't file your taxes because your taxes have already been filed on your behalf. All of these are possible signs of identity theft. And the last one that you see, and we talked about this earlier, there's a warrant out for your arrest. Now, let's look for COVID. Let's talk about some COVID-19 scams. You want to be very careful about people who are requesting you to pay out of pocket to receive the Moderna, Pfizer, or Johnson and Johnson shot. No one should be paying out of pocket in order to receive a shot or to be put on a waiting list or etc. You want to watch for ads, that, particularly on Facebook, Instagram, or whatever social media, that will talk about getting the shot or getting vaccinated. You want to be careful about marketers offering to sell or ship a COVID-19 vaccine. You definitely don't want to fall for that. And above all, you want to be leery about calls that you get or solicitations asking you to contribute to COVID-19 research or for vaccine and etc. Definitely be leery of that. All of these are designed to get your personal information. That's your social security number, your bank account information, all of your personal information. So be very careful about that. Let's talk about RRS imposter scam. That's when they say, Cedric Wright, you owe $21,000 to the RRS. If you don't get this money by this Friday, you're going to jail. And now they're even saying their first name, their badge number, and they're even telling you the last four digits of your social security number. They do these things for you to feel comfortable with the fact that they're actually authentic. But remember, the IRS will never, ever call you to say that you owe a debt. And above all, if you do owe a debt, they definitely won't ask you to pay it using a gift card or etc. If you owe a debt to the IRS, they will send you an email. They will send you, not an email, they will send you a letter in the mail and articulate everything that you need or everything that is owed. So always keep that in mind. Let's talk about tech support scams. I'm sure you may have seen this pop up either on your computer, your tablet, or maybe even your phone. I'm sorry, let's go back. And it said, and these are these warnings that you get. You want to be very careful about clicking on this type warning. This warning contains malicious malware, and in that malware, it could possibly wipe out everything on your computer. And that means, and remember, a lot of people use their computer to pay bills. So you may have your bank account number, your routing information, your social security information housed on the hard drive of your computer. And also, if someone calls you and says that there's a problem with your computer and we need to get remote access, you definitely don't want to fall for that. That is a scam. If you have problems with your computer, or even if you see this pop-up message, take your computer to someone that you trust, or take it to like Best Buy, where they have techs housed there, but who are certified individuals to fix your particular computer issue. Let's talk about the grandparent scam. That's when they say, Grandma, I'm in jail. I need money to get me out. Or they may even call and say, we have your grandchild hostage. If we don't get bail money or if we don't get ransom money by a certain amount of time, we're going to kill your grandchild. No grandparent wants their grandchild or grandchildren in harm's way, but you cannot fall for these grandparent scams. These are out here, they are real, and it is happening every day, all day. So definitely be on the alert of the grandparent scams. Debt collection scams. These are scams where they say, Cedric Wright, you owe a certain amount of money. If we don't get this money paid, or if you don't get this money by a certain time, you're going to jail. And the way they're going to ask you to pay for this debt, they're going to ask you to either do a wire transfer, which is the first red flag, a prepaid debit card, which is the second red flag, or a gift card. And particularly with the gift card, they'll ask you to go to Walmart, get the gift card, put the card on that money, call them back, and then give them the number off the card. And as soon as you have done that, you will possibly become the victim of identity theft. And then they're going to ask for information that they should already know about you. So here again, if you ever get a call about you owing a debt, make sure that you legitimately owe that debt before you actually talk to that individual. Let's talk about the sweepstakes lottery. You would not believe this, but we get a lot of calls in our agency about people falling for the sweepstakes lottery. That's when they say, Cedric Wright, you've won $10,000. All you have to do is pay $300, and then we'll give you your money. And keep in mind, if Cedric Wright legitimately won something, why would he have to pay money in order to get money? Believe it or not, this may sound crazy, it may sound bogus, but we have a lot of people who fall for these sweepstakes type lottery. Let's talk about spoofing. Spoofing is when they take a number that looks like your number in order for you to pick up the phone. So, for example, if I'm in Lexington, they would have 803-950-7890. If I'm living in Lexington, South Carolina, and I see a 212-950-7890, it's more than likely that I would not pick up that phone call. But they do that because if you were to see a number like that, they know that you're not going to pick it up. And a lot of people ask us, Mr. Wright, how can I stop all of these bogus phone calls or all of these people calling me at all types of crazy times? The only way to remedy that is if you see a number you don't recognize, you should not pick up the phone. Because what happens is as soon as they know a live person lives at 212-950-7890, they will take your number and sell it to other individuals, which will open you up for additional annoying phone calls. So just keep that in mind. Now, let's talk about phishing. That's not what you do on Saturday mornings. This is a fraudulent way of obtaining usernames, passwords, credit card numbers, and other sensitive information. Now, let's look at some examples of phishing. These are these emails that you receive. And when you look at the anatomy of phishing type emails, all of them are designed the same way. They talk about an issue. And if you don't act on that issue, there's going to be a consequence. Now, let's look at this. If Cedric Wright that banks with Bank of America, this would not say, dear online banking customer. I would expect my bank to address me, dear Mr. Cedric Wright. And look at this. We are writing you to inform you that there have been a number of invalid login attempts to access your account. Now let's get down. Please click here to begin the account verification process. That's the first red flag. If you fail to update your account information in the next 24 hours, that's another red flag. You will be required to go into our branch to reestablish your account. You cannot fall for these type emails, even though the subject line says your account has been locked. If you feel that there is a problem with your Bank of America account, you definitely want to take the time, call the 1-800 number and verify if there is actually an issue with your card. Let's look at this. Many of us may use Netflix. Dear user, we're having some trouble with your current billing information. We'll try again, but in the meantime, you may want to update your payment details. Here again, this is a phishing type email. So if you were to log into this information, the first thing that is going to ask you to do is to update your billing information. And here again, as soon as you do that, then you could possibly be opening yourself up to identity theft. So if you think that there's a problem with your Netflix account, call the 1-800 number to see if there is a problem with your account. Let's look at this one. This is very popular. And this almost goes back to the question that was asked earlier. Dear customer, and some informations. Here again, another thing about phishing type email, the grammar is not good. If you don't update your informations, another grammatical error within 72 hours will limit what you can do with your Amazon account. Here again, if there's a problem with your Amazon account, take the time to call them and ask. Do not fall for these type phishing emails, and you definitely do not want to click on these type links, because as soon as you click on this link right here where it says verify now, you could possibly open yourself up to become a victim of identity theft. All right, let's move along. Now, many people don't know this, but now you can get a free weekly credit report. Now, remember, this does not include your score. Let's get this up. Yeah, this does not include your score. It simply just has the language on your credit report, and you can get a free weekly credit report from now until April of next year. So definitely take advantage of getting a free credit report. Now, when you get your free credit report, make sure that you are going to www.annualcreditreport.com. Only use this link. Be very careful about links that may promise you to get a free credit report. All right, let's talk about a fraud alert. A fraud alert is something good to have. And what it does, it tells the business that they need to take extra precautionary methods to ensure Cedric Wright is Cedric Wright. Keep in mind, if you do a fraud alert today, which is April 27, 2021, you have to remember April 27 of 2022 to renew this fraud alert. And one good thing about a fraud alert is when you contact one credit bureau, they take care of notifying the other two credit bureaus. So definitely, if you don't have a fraud alert, this is a good thing to have in place in order to protect your identity. Let's talk about a security freeze. A security freeze is free to place or live. And what it does is, let's say, for example, if someone were to steal my Social Security card, and then they try to open up new lines of credit, a security freeze will prevent that from happening. And the good thing about a security freeze, when you call TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax, they will give you a special PIN number. And that PIN number can be used to thaw your credit out in case you want to make a purchase like a car, etc. So a fraud alert and security freeze, these are good, and both of these are free. These are good things to have in place to help protect your identity. Now, if you would like to connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, or even our YouTube channel, you're more than welcome to do that. On our Facebook page, we keep consumers up to date about the latest scams. We also have information about our webinar Wednesdays, which we offer every Wednesday from 10:30 to 11 o'clock. And we also have free publications that you're more than welcome to take advantage of. We have our Ditch the Pitch, our Identity Theft Prevention Guide, as well as our Credit Report Guide, and more. So if you would like these pamphlets for free, all you have to do is call us, and we will be more than glad to mail this information to you. Now, I know I threw a whole lot of information at you, but does anyone have any questions about the information that was presented today? If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. And if I can't answer it, I will do the research and get back to you. Any questions or concerns?
We do have one question in the chat.
Yes.
That's our state police calling for donations over the phone. Or would that be a scam?
It could possibly be a scam. If you want to check to see whether or not it is, I would highly suggest that you call that particular agency. Or and this brings about another thought. when you have people that actually solicit for charities, particularly around the Christmas time, you can actually verify that through the American Red Cross. You can also give your donations to the American Red Cross and they will channel it to the right agency. That's an excellent question. Are there any other questions or concerns about the information that was presented today?
Yes, someone asks, how do you put a fraud alert in place?
The way that you put a fraud, let's go back to this slide. The way that you put a fraud alert in place, you will actually call the credit bureau and say, I would like to place a fraud alert on my particular, let's say, TransUnion account. And as soon as you do that, they will notify the other two bureaus. If you put your email in the chat, I will actually send you some information and the phone numbers as well. And I'll email that to you as soon as I get done with this presentation. I will send you some information about that, as well as the security freeze with the numbers if you're interested in that as well. Any other good questions? Keep them coming. I like to answer questions. Keep them coming.
Yeah, this is your opportunity to ask an expert.
Yes,
So.
yes. Keep your questions coming. Yes. Well, if you think of something, once you're eating dinner tonight or watching the 6 o'clock news, you are more than welcome to reach out to me. I have my email address as well as my office number. You are more than welcome to ask me anything if you think about it after the fact.
Okay, we've got a couple questions in the chat now.
Okay, yeah, keep them coming.
Yeah. So I'll read one out loud. I got an offer for an internship training this week, but they wanted a $200 deposit. Would that be considered a scam?
It could possibly be a scam. I would highly recommend that wherever that offer came from, that you call and verify whether or not that is actually legitimate.
And I think that response would also work for another question where a follow-up where they said that their husband did take a call yesterday for someone asking for a donation to the state police, but that would also be, I guess, call the police to verify, right?
Right. And I'm going to be honest with you. I know in my area, most of the times when I've seen them do donations, you'll see them like with the boot of the firemen, and they stand like at the red lights and stuff, and they will solicit that way. But I've never really known of actual phone calls, to be honest with you.
All right, so that would be a good thing to follow up on.
Exactly.
Really?
Any other questions or concerns? Oh, let me say this. This is something new that has popped up. You want to be careful if you use Facebook about friend requests. Also, you even want to be careful about individuals that you may have been friends with since high school. Because what's going on now, you have hackers that will actually come into a legitimate friend's Facebook page and request for things like money or etc. I don't know why this is all of a sudden an epidemic, so to speak, with Facebook, but definitely be careful on Facebook when it comes to that, because I've seen many individuals succumb to those type scams simply because it's someone who they trust and they've known for years, and all of a sudden someone has taken over that particular Facebook page. So you definitely want to be careful with identity theft when it comes to friend requests and actually who you engage with on Facebook.
That's excellent advice. And if you're having trouble finding the contact information for the company that's contacted you, you can always ask at the library and we can help you track down the legitimate contact information for some of these places.
Yes. If you're in doubt, definitely hang up and call the actual agency to verify that whatever information is being asked of you is actually going on. That's so important. I cannot tell you the number of calls we get when people have fallen for things that you all are asking now. Any other questions or concerns? Keep the questions coming.
Remember, you can unmute yourself. That's in the bottom left of your screen. Oh, and then this is a great follow-up about the company scams. If we think that a certain company is a scam, is there a place where we should report them?
Yes, anytime you are the victim of identity theft or you come in contact with a scam, you are more than welcome to call South Carolina Department of Consumer Affairs. We work in conjunction. We work in conjunction with the FTC, and we use this information that you as consumers give us in order to help stop these people. But we can't stop people unless we know what's out there. So definitely, you can report scams, identity theft. If you think you've been the victim of identity theft and you need assistance, we walk with you step by step to tell you what you need to do to mitigate your situation.
And I just put that link to the Consumer Affairs website in the chat in case you want
I,
to copy and paste it.
I appreciate that. Yes. Thank you so much. And we also have our number at the bottom of my, is my slide still up?
It is, yes.
Yes, and we have our 1-800, we have our toll-free number at the bottom of my slide that you're more than welcome to use as well. And keep in mind, the fraud alert as well as security freeze, those they are free. Definitely take advantage of it. And I'm not telling you anything that I don't have. I particularly sought the security freeze as well as the fraud alert because my wife and I, as well as my 3 children, we became the victim of the tax evasion that happened back in 2015. So this prompted me to do this in order to protect myself. So definitely, I'm not telling you anything that I don't have.
I think a lot of us were victims of that. I know our family was as well.
Right, right. So if by chance you were the victim, now I know with that they told you that they were going to do whatever until whatever, but this will take, you can use this to take extra steps to ensure, because remember, at this point, if you were the victim of that, your social security number is out floating around somewhere. So you definitely want to be proactive to make sure that you protect your identity.
Excellent advice. Thank you.
Yes. Any other questions or concerns? You all have been a wonderful audience. I love the questions. All right. Again, I want to say thank you. Here again, I have my information up. You're more than welcome to contact me if you have any questions or concerns. Definitely, reach out to me, and I'll do whatever I can to assist you. Or if I can't get the question answered, I will, check with some people at the agency to make sure we're providing the ultimate customer service for you.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Cedric. We really appreciate you sharing your time and talent with us today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us this afternoon. I hope you learned a lot. I know that I did. I definitely want to make sure that we keep ourselves safe from ID theft and scams. So thank you so much to Cedric Wright and the South Carolina Department of Consumer Affairs for providing this material for us. Check out greenvillelibrary.org and check out our virtual events calendar so that you can keep up to date with other events like this one. And of course, on our virtual activities and classes page, that's where you can access recorded videos like this one. We've got lots more. They're under our business and money button. So if you click on that, you'll be able to access our YouTube playlist with other videos just like this one. Thank you all for your time, and we hope to see you again at our next virtual event. Have a great afternoon.